Hello and welcome. My name is Michaela, and this is part 3, the final part of my 3-part series on the traps, the common traps that perfectionists will fall into when they're using tapping or EFT as a self-development tool. So in part 1, we covered the first trap. Part 2, we covered the second trap. And part 3, we're going to cover trap number 3, what it is, why we do it, what we can do instead. And I'm going to kind of summarize all of it to paint a picture of what tapping could look like in your life, where it feels like it's a tool that you feel fully empowered to use. That is my goal. My goal is empowerment for you. Okay, so before we dive into trap number 3, I want to take a moment to just quickly summarize parts 1 and 2. Now, if you haven't watched those videos, I highly encourage that you do. I also encourage you to watch my how to tap video. I will link all of them below. And this will probably be in a playlist eventually. But if for some reason you don't want to watch those videos or you're just excited for part 3, let me just provide a little summary. Also, maybe it's been a minute since you've watched the other videos. So here we go. Tapping, also known as EFT or emotional freedom technique, is where we tap on acupressure points on our bodies while we focus on something. So it could be that we're focused on a painful memory, a challenge, a stress, a limiting belief, a physical ailment or pain, insomnia, whatever it may be. It's also a tool we can use when we want to feel more comfortable and familiar with things that we want, with positive feeling states, with things that bring us joy. Because tapping and the basic mechanism is that it's calming our minds and our nervous systems, literally, they've shown this in studies, it means that we're in a more regulated state and we're receptive to letting go of pain that we might be holding on to. It feels safe to let it go. And it feels safe to open up to more ease, more peace, more joy. So it's really cool. I love it. And I've been tapping since the mid-2000s. I was a teenager when I started. And part of what inspired this entire series was deep reflections that I've been doing on what was challenging for me when I was a teenager, when my perfectionism patterns were probably at their loudest. And what was challenging to me about tapping then? And what would I tell myself if I could go back in time to help her, to help reassure her? Because I would tap and I basically felt like I was making things worse. I felt like I wasn't saying the right words, which is trap number 1, feeling like you have to say the perfect words. I felt like I wasn't saying the right words. I was riddled with self-doubt and anxiety from that. I felt like all this anxiety and stress that I had to get it down to 0, and I didn't know how to get it down to 0. It felt like I was going to have to tap forever to get it all the way down to 0. Are you kidding me? Which is trap number 2, believing you have to get the intensity all the way down. And 3, this is today's video, I also felt like if I felt worse, if the intensity was going up while I was tapping, I must be doing something wrong. All of these traps made me feel like I was doing something wrong. And what I want to say is to myself, that past me, and to you, if you've experienced this, you're not doing anything wrong. You're not. You just didn't have the information that you needed to fully understand what was happening and how to meet yourself where you were at in that moment. And I'm sorry that you didn't have that support. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to provide that support to you now. I feel tender talking about it. Yeah. Because I think so many of us who pursue self-development, we do it alone a lot of the time. And I think that's great. Like, I'm deeply into like self-coaching, self-development work, self-empowerment. I also love coaches. I've hired a lot of coaches. I am a coach. I think the coaching relationship is so powerful. And no one's there 100% of the time except you. And even then, sometimes you are busy and you cannot be there for yourself as much as you'd like to be, right? So having tools that we can use anytime, any place, and having this friendship with ourselves where we can support ourselves is, I think, one of the greatest gifts we can give, not just to ourselves, but actually to the world. Because when we're a good friend to ourselves, it changes how we show up. So, in that effort to do the self-development things on our own and to figure it all out, it can be very isolating, especially when we're in the storm of a negative belief, of an intense, painful memory or experience or physical challenge. And this trap, this third trap I want to talk about today, is really this idea of thinking that if when you start to tap, it makes it worse, you feel worse, right? You might have felt kind of calm, like, yeah, oh, there's that painful memory, or there's that thing that happened earlier today that I didn't really like. And then you start to tap and get present with it, and you start to cry, or you start to feel more agitated, or even weird sensations in your body, or that fight or flight starts to kick in. Maybe part of you thinks that, oh no, I'm doing it wrong. This is supposed to be soothing and reassuring. I should feel better. You're not doing it wrong. It's actually incredibly normal and kind of a good sign if feelings start to come up when you start tapping. Because what that shows is that you are dropping into greater presence with what's here. That feeling was here already. It just might have had some layers of, compartmentalization, numbing. Your body, your system's doing a lot to just kind of keep things comfortable and status quo. So there's a lot going on there. And as you get present and you're using the tapping, whether that's that you're tuning into and fully remembering the experience, or as you're tapping, you're feeling more of the sensations in your body. Sometimes too, with the words, if we are using words, we're acknowledging the truth of how we feel. And that can be intense, to fully name, to fully acknowledge, whoa, that was hard, that was upsetting, that was scary, that made me mad, that reminded me of this other scary thing. Whatever it is, acknowledgement can bring feelings up. And this is where I'm so grateful for all the time I spent studying somatic psychology. Because in somatic psychology, especially the forms of it that I studied, there's this beautiful idea that any feeling, any sensation, any experience we have, part of how we process it is that we sequence it through. So it lands in us in some way, and we sequence it through. That's this very specific somatic language. And that means that we're moving it through our system and out. And there are certain endpoints, right? There's our hands, there's the top of our head. You could call the pelvic floor an endpoint too, right? There's a lot of releasing that happens there. That's a funny thing to say. And our feet. There's also our feet as endpoints. So when it's more like somatic dance or natural movement practices, we use the endpoints. We might push against something, or we might express through the endpoints of our hands or our feet or even our head. I know when I was doing a lot of natural movement, I would be on my hands and knees, and I would kind of bury my head into the ground. There was something about that pressure, and to kind of be moving through that endpoint that felt really powerful for me. So, separate from, dance therapy and natural movement, bringing it back to tapping and the emotion, part of how we sequence things through is tears or sound. So whether if it's like anger, or even with crying too, there can be a need to make a sound, to yell, or to breathe more intensely, right? So part of what's happening is, as we get more present with the feeling, whatever it may be, there's a need for it to move through the system and out. And that's also why with tapping, sometimes we need to go to the bathroom. We cough, we sneeze, we yawn, we sigh, our eyes water, or we like really, really cry, or we need to make a noise, right? All of this is this sequencing through. That's very natural. It's literally how your body's designed to kind of heal, move things through. There's even, right, shaking. That's something that's very common, that's commonly spoken of in somatic therapy, of the way that a deer will shake after like a scary experience. It'll just shake it all off. So shaking is really powerful too. So bringing it back to tapping. I just wanted to spend some time to really dispel that trap, that myth that if it gets more intense, it's wrong. It's actually a sign that you're onto something. Now, why do we fall into that trap? Why do we think that if it gets worse, that means we're doing something wrong? I think it goes back to this black and white thinking that, well, if I'm doing something helpful, it should just be, it should be linear. It should be going down. It shouldn't be going up. If it's correct, it should be working right away. And working should look like only feeling better, right? The number going down. And in my personal experience and in what I've observed with clients and just the world really, is that healing is not linear. It is, if it is a line, it's a very squiggly line. But it feels more like a three-dimensional swirling situation. So I think that too, we fall into this trap, and we can almost make it worse. And I know this is what was happening for me when I was a teenager tapping, is there's this concept of there's the pain and then there's the suffering we put on top of it. And I think that's part of what was happening here, is there's the pain of whatever I was tapping on, right? I was working on health things, body image stuff, social dynamics in schools, academia, anxiety, and there's a lot going on. So there's that pain. But then there's the judgment or the suffering put on top of it. And because I was using this tool and this perfectionism trap of the combo of the three, am I saying the right words? I need to say the right words. Am I getting it down to zero? Can I get it down to zero? I have to get it down to zero. And, oh my gosh, I'm feeling worse. That must mean I'm probably not doing the first two right, and something else wrong is happening. That creates this like storm of judgment and stress about the pain that makes it bigger, right? It makes it even more intense. And so the original pain almost gets clouded over by this new pain of self-doubt, self-criticism, fear, anxiety, stress. So, what can we do instead? This is nuanced. I think the first aspect of what to do instead is part of what I've already spent time on, is deeply understanding that it's not wrong. And reframing how you see an increase in discomfort or an increase in emotionality when you tap, to see it as, I'm onto something. I'm so glad I'm here. This part needs my attention. I'm doing it right? I'm doing the thing. So that's number one. Number two, kind of goes back to what I talked about in part two with the 10 to 0 of knowing that it is okay to stop at any point, because your system can do so much with even just a little nudge in that direction. It's okay to stop and shift your focus, right? Go into another room, go outside, listen to a song, go on a walk, just shift your attention, and to titrate rather than flood the system and make things explode, just to titrate, just to touch in on this. This might be more intense than you thought it was. This might hold more depth and layers and charge is a really great word for it. It might hold more charge than you realized. So maybe you do just want to touch in and then back off. So understanding how to be more kind and really trauma informed, right? Where you know that okay, maybe we need to titrate. We don't need to annihilate it right now, right? So yeah. So one, know that you're on the right track. Two, know that it's okay to step away and to titrate. And number 3, and this is a theme I know I've shared, I believe, in all of these videos, is remember that you're approaching this as best you can from a state of compassionate curiosity rather than aggressive criticism and the need to fix. Try on the hat, the idea that there's nothing here to be fixed. You're simply bringing more love and attention and presence to more parts of you and seeing what comes from that. Let the chips fall where they may. So I want to talk about all 3 traps now, because I think if I describe each of them now and kind of the shift, so from trap to freedom, really, I think you're going to see a beautiful through line, and this understanding will become a more vivid picture for you. So there you are. You decide to do some tapping on your own. I'm so excited. Awesome. And now that you've watched these videos and you understand that you don't need to have the perfect words, you don't even need to use words. You can bring the intensity down as much as feels ready for you at that time, as much as also however much time you have, right? You got a busy life, I know. And that if it gets more intense, it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It actually means you're right where you need to be, and you can just bring more kindness to it. That reminds me of another what to do instead piece there. Yes. So we'll get to that. So I just get so excited because these shifts create so much more empowerment for your tapping. And my hope for you is that you feel more encouraged to tap it more often, to trust yourself and trust the process and let it become your own. I love hearing from people, whether it's past clients or friends or just people on the internet, how they're using tapping in their lives and how they're like making this tool really unique to them, making it fit for them. So you're tapping more often, you're trusting yourself in the process, and you're filled with a sense of empowerment that this tool is yours and this tool is supporting you in feeling more shifts and more ease and more presence and more friendship with yourself. How awesome is that? Now, so the final note on what to do instead when it comes to this, like, oh gosh, what if it gets more intense? And I should probably create some kind of support tool. If I do, I will link it below in the description. But basically, I just want to invite you all to make sure that you have some way to comfort yourself if and when things get intense. There's obviously the changing your state, right? Stepping out of the room, going outside, listening to music, maybe hugging like a friend, family member, partner, petting your pet. Love a pet. But if you feel like you need even more resources, there are powerful meditations that just help us anchor more to a sense of ease and well-being. That could look like havening, which is where you kind of give yourself a hug. One of my favorite versions is where you kind of squeeze on the way down. You can also do it where you're just kind of petting on the way down. This kind of outer to inner line. It's amazing. Seriously, try it right now if you can. So cool. Havening, Havening. Love havening. So that might be something you can do. The other thing you can do, and this is more of a preemptive thing, it's almost like you can bank this resource and then use it in times of need, is connect with a happy place or a happy memory. So for me, for the longest time, one of my most favorite happy places, just to give you an example, was when I used to visit my mom out here in California, where I live now. Her home has this community pool with hot springs in it, and these bushes that I don't know what it is exactly, but it smells like jasmine. And the happy memory was there's this moment as you get into the hot spring hot tubs, and I would sink to where the water was right to my jaw, and I could smell that jasmine smell. And there's just this like euphoric, almost like shiver of delight that happens with that warm water. And the feeling that knowing that my mom was having the same joy, because there she was, I was with her. And just feeling like my whole body felt supported and even nourished. It's just this like, such a good feeling. And that would be this happy memory that I could go to. That would just bring me ease, right? I probably lit up quite a bit in my face and expression as I described that, which is the sign of a really powerful, happy memory. So that's something that you could spend some time connecting with. And once again, I might make a resource to help you all with that. I think that could be good. So comment below if you're like, help me with a guided happy place. Let me know. And once again, if and when I make that resource, I will link it in the description. But yeah, having ways to help yourself titrate, to help yourself self-soothe. This whole journey gets to be one of being kind to yourself, being present with yourself. And I really believe that tapping is a powerful tool for that. So thank you for watching this series, or just watching this video if you just skip to the end. I respect it. I understand. If you ever want to do deeper tapping work with me, please reach out. You can find ways to do that via my website in the links below. And know that I so care about you feeling empowered when it comes to creating positive shifts in whatever way, whatever that looks like. And I'm really grateful that you were here and spent this time with me today. Thank you. May you be well.